And we're live. Welcome everybody to the M365 Dublin User Group. I'm here along to help with hosting. My name is Frank Falvey. I'm an MVP and I'm in Cork in Ireland. So over to you, Anya.
Okay, thank you so much, Frank, for hosting us today. My name is Onyinye Madubuko, working within the M365 um, as the co-founder for M365 Dublin User Group. I work within the modern workplace practice, and I'm co-founding the M365 Dublin User Group with Sean. Unfortunately, Sean wouldn't be joining for today. But however, we have an interesting topic today. We are going to be looking at Microsoft Intune Suite. So quite a number of organizations have adopted Microsoft Intune as their tool of choice for managing endpoints. But the question is, how many of these organizations are really leveraging on the features of Microsoft Intune Suite, the likes of endpoint privilege management, remote help, and the likes? However, in the next few minutes, we have Mads, who is a cloud architect at Apento. He will be sharing with us his experiences from a recent project implementation that was completed on Intune Suite in Europe. So the session for today is titled Intune Suite, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I'm really excited for today's session, and I'll be handing over to Matt to take us through the session. Over to you, Matt.
Great. Thank you very much. And thank you for having me. I'm really grateful to be sharing the word and everything. So, yeah, I've actually, I lived in Ireland for a couple of years. So my English accent is a bit different from my Danish peers. I actually worked for HP in Ireland for a few years in Leixlip, County Kildare. So, yeah, I know a bit about the Irish culture and all that stuff. So it was invaluable experience for me. I'll never forget it. Never forget Ireland. Actually, it's I miss it sometimes. When I'm in Denmark. So, but yeah, about myself. I'm a freelance modern work specialist. I'm mostly assisting customers going cloud native. It's a very broad term, assisting customers going cloud native. So one day you can come in and you can troubleshoot some strange issues, and the next day you come in and you do something completely different. But mainly it's cloud native for Windows endpoints. But last year I actually also did some cloud native for Mac OS, if you can believe that stuff. So I'm partnered with a company called Apento, mostly consisting with by like freelancers like myself. And also Apento is like also really into Microsoft like myself, and really deeply into the Microsoft ecosystem. So that's why I really found that really, really useful to be with the like-minded individuals. I've been doing endpoint management for 8 years, but sometimes when I come into work, I'm asking myself, is this really endpoint management? A few weeks ago I was doing like SharePoint scripting and stuff like that. Okay, this is definitely not endpoint management. It's just something different. And when I say endpoint management, that's like Windows endpoints, managing the policy, security around that stuff, but also Mac OS, Android, and all that stuff to make sure that's secure and all that. So as I just mentioned, I've had a past experience in Ireland. I worked for HP in Ireland with their HP ProLiant servers. For some reason, they decided to place all of their Scandinavian support for their ProLiant servers in Ireland, probably for tax reasons, I could guess. So that's why I stayed in Ireland for many years in enterprise break and fix, mainly for supporting Scandinavian customers. So I have a lot of Microsoft certifications, but obviously I still hold a few HP certifications. Some of them probably expired, but I still have them. I still brag, a bit. I have HP certification, but not too much. So also have a blog. Some of you probably already know me. I know a few of my customers probably here now, evil365.com. Where I mainly blog about Microsoft Intune and how to kind of get the best out of it, and also like if there's a specific issue, this is how you resolve it, basically. So I only started blogging and public speaking early last year, so there's not a lot of posts yet, but there's definitely more to come. And today I'll be talking about Intune Suite. But before I go any further, I promise to bring this slide for myself because sometimes I can get into trouble. And this is mainly for myself because, as the presenters noted, I've been working with a large customer implementing Intune Suite. And that means I have a front row seat with in regards to talking to Microsoft and the engineers directly involved with this product almost on a day-to-day basis. We speak to them almost every day. Sometimes we get information that's actually under NDA, but we don't know actually completely it's under NDA, and then we accidentally share it. So this is just a disclaimer. I will do my very best to share information that's not share. Sorry, so not sharing any information that's under NDA. But rest assured, I'm probably one of the best people right now to give you a good impression of what Intune Suite can do right now, but also within the next year or two, what's coming, within the bounds of not sharing any NDA information. So yeah, I just put that in there for myself.
Just, Mads, we have a question from Joseph in Nigeria.
Yeah.
Could you share your blog link? Can you put it into the private chat and I can put it on the screen?
Yeah. So I'll have to exit the presentation to do that, actually.
You can do it later. We'll post it on LinkedIn. That'd be fine. So
Okay.
You work away. That's fine.
Okay. Great.
It's evil. What was the EVEL?
Evil365.com.
EVIL, is it?
Yeah.
365.com.
Exactly.
I'll just post that up on the thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much. And I'm currently sharing my screen, so I can't. This is the
yeah,
new. The StreamYard is new to me. I can't see if there's any questions, so maybe I'll just pause a bit to make sure to take any questions.
That's fine. I have it there now, and I'll show it on the screen.
Great. Yeah. Was there any more questions?
No, that's it. So we can, if there's any more questions, we leave it towards the end, and we can have a short Q&A then when you stop sharing. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
Okay. Cool.
Right. Let's continue on. So the agenda for today is I'll just walk you through what is Intune Suite and why should you know about it. Some of you probably know what it is, but there's probably some people on this call that you don't know what it is, and yeah, what is it? So I'll just be quick flying what it is and why you should know about it, and then I'll begin by talking about EPM, endpoint privilege management, and I'll give you a demo of how it works in real life. The same with remote help. Remote assisting your users, it kind of like TeamViewer. Then I'll be showing Cloud PKI and how you can, within a few minutes, provision a PKI infrastructure to issue certificates, something that takes days today if you want to do it yourself. Then I'll do a demo of and talk a bit, about advanced app management, kind of a bit like Patch My PC and RoboPack and all those products that some of you probably already know today. And then I'll end it off with endpoint analytics, probably the most non-useful product in the suite right now. Sorry, but that's just how it is. That's why I left it for last. There's 3 other products in the suite right now. I'm not going to cover them today because they're very, very specialized. It's like firmware updates for Zebra devices and managing VR devices. Those products and offerings, they're also in the suite. I'm not going to cover them here. Whenever I talk to customers, most of them they're not in that space, but that maybe there's someone in the call that probably need it. I'm just not going to cover in these slides. So yeah. So just so you know, usually when I present, they're very demo heavy because usually I think people they take in information a lot better when they actually see the product that we are talking about, it's a lot easier for them to visualize how it works compared to looking at screenshots and someone telling you this and that. So yeah, just be warned that I'll stop sharing, and then I'll go into my show my virtual machines where I'll set up a bit of a lab and I'll show you how it works. So starting off, what is Intune Suite and why should you know about it? Basically, Microsoft, I think they made Intune Suite to kind of do the one toolbox to rule them all. It went general availability in around March 2023, and when I look back at it now, it's already 2 years ago, and it's hard to believe. So basically, think of it as today, all large organizations, they have these requirements to have these products to solve a specific task, like remote supporting your end users, or a PAM solution to bridge the gap between being not local administrator and letting your end users do stuff, and all those bits and pieces. And after so many years, Microsoft has kind of finally entered the fray. It's a bit late if you ask me, but it's really good that they've done it now, because there is really so much value in having that single pane of glass when you have all of these products that you've been used to having like 5 or 6 different vendors solving that problem for you. Now you have it in a single pane of glass in the tool you're probably already using today to manage your endpoints through Microsoft Intune. But unfortunately, a few years ago, most of you probably remember when Microsoft they told us, or well, at least that's what they hinted. Let me be correct here. They hinted that Microsoft E5, when you had that license, you had everything. But then Intune Suite came, and okay, you have to buy that separately. Okay. So, but I'm sure that there's a lot of thought process that went behind that decision. But Intune Suite is sold and licensed separately from Microsoft licensing, so it is something you need to purchase separately. And as I mentioned, it is Intune Suite. It's this one toolbox to kind of replace all your third-party vendors where you're probably solving these problems now, like PAM for endpoints, remote support like TeamViewer, third-party app management thing, Patch My PC, RoboPack, or Night if you're even using that, and then there's your cloud PKI like Skepman and all that stuff. Now you kind of have that in Intune readily available at the palm of your hand, really easy to use. And if you think I'm really if you already think I'm boring to listen to, you can actually already go now to sign up for a trial for Intune Suite, up to 250 users last I checked, and you can do that for up to 90 days. So you can actually start trying it, clicking around, and see what it does. But before you do that, I would ask you to just listen through what I have to say here, because it will kind of give you some information what is not working right now and what is working. Because after all, Microsoft is an agile company, so that means they release things in what we call what they known as sprints. So you start with the base product and then you slowly add on things over time. And you'll see in a bit that what we got now is possibly version 1.0, the very early version. So I'm gonna demo that now, starting with EPM, Endpoint Privilege Management. So Endpoint Privilege Management is there to kind of bridge the gap between non-administrator and then still enable user productivity, enforce least privilege access, but also deliver insights in how are the user using those admin rights. It can be configured in different ways, as we know. As some of you already know, but there's different PAM solutions already, and they've been in the game for many years. Some of you probably already know the admin by request, and there's there's a byte something, and there's dichotic. There's lots of different vendors in this space already. And with EPM, so you can configure elevation in similarly to those products. So here it's called automatic elevation, user confirmed elevation, or support approved elevations. I'll walk you through that in a bit in a demo. And as it says here, it's insights based on elevation audits. You can kind of get reporting based on what are your users using that local admin privilege for. And you can craft those rules for elevating applications or based on the exact organizational requirements. Actually, Microsoft, they strongly recommend that for everything that you need to elevate as administrator in your organization, you need to craft a specific rule for it. And then there's the tenant level enablement. So as actually as soon as you buy the Intune Suite license, if you just buy one license, you actually get the right to use EPM, and then it's a per device rollout. And for some reason, there's no license check. So technically, you could buy one Intune Suite license and you could roll it out to 1,000 devices. I don't recommend it, just to make that clear. But technically, you could do it. That there's no license check. So when you start using it, if you exceeded your licensing, there's nothing stopping you. So just to make that clear, that you need to make sure that you have enough licenses before you actually start rolling it out to everyone. And recently added to EPM, for those of you following this space a lot, you've probably recently seen that they've added support for ARM devices. If you don't know what an ARM device is, I'm not going to cover it here, but basically it's your Windows-based equivalent of a Mac device, more or less. And then they've also added support for elevating MSIs. And just to rehash the conversation regarding local admin rights, I still meet customers today that haven't removed local admin rights altogether. And that's super bad, because a lot of attacks can actually be mitigated by eliminating those local admin rights. So that's the whole point of a PAM solution, where endpoint privilege management kind of comes into the mix finally. With that, I'm just gonna stop it to check if there's any questions. Otherwise, I'll just jump into my demo to show how it works. Okay, great. No questions?
No questions.
Awesome. So let's jump into the demo. So let's see if this works. I'm just going to put him there, and I'm going to put this guy there. So can you all see that? I hope so.
Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome. So of course I have to use virtual machines here to kind of demonstrate how it works. So on the right side here, we have an IT admin. He's logged into his device. And on the left-hand side, we just have a normal end user that wants to do stuff. And he's obviously not local admin, and he wants to do things. But first, let me actually demonstrate what I've done beforehand to kind of prepare this demo, actually. So here in my Intune portal, I can show you already. So if you go to endpoint security and endpoint privilege management, as soon as you get the first license, this view in here that kind of opens up, and you can start doing things. So what I've done in advance is I've just crafted some basic policies just for demonstration purposes. I've, for example, just deployed a policy that kind of dictates, you have EPM, go and enable it. And by default, it requires a support approval, so an IT admin, to elevate anything before you can kind of do what you need to do. And then I've also gone and crafted a default elevation rule. So this elevation rule basically dictates, so if there is a rule, okay, this overrides the default elevation response. So here I kind of said, if you have Adobe Reader, you can elevate that without being approved. So let's take a look at what that looks like from a user perspective. So if you go here to the end user, so if we right click now, so this is actually, so imagine I've been using this product for 2 years and I've been living with this for 2 years. So the first time you right click, the button is not going to be there, but there's supposed to be a run with elevated access. I think the guy said from Microsoft it's going to be resolved in an April patch. So let me just try and right click again. I just want to see, I just want you all to see what I've been dealing with the past 2 years. So let me try again. There we go. So this is going to be resolved very soon. We've been talking a bit with them about that. So this is basically EPM here. So the EPM client is installed and the user can run with elevated access, and hopefully the user can install this. So, and here it says open this app as an administrator, and the user can press continue. And then there's this error, which is not really descriptive, but when you press this link, it will kind of just tell you, okay, you need to right click and press properties and unblock it. So I'm just going to do that. The users in the organization I'm helping, they usually don't know that, even though we have knowledge base articles and all that stuff. So we just remind them every day. It's not an issue. So let's try again. And here you go. So now the user can kind of install Adobe Reader by himself without reaching out to IT to get help. So this is really a major thing, because this means that EPM is kind of the perfect product to solve those one-time software install requests. So imagine if you have ServiceNow or some other system to kind of let users submit a one-time software install request. You can just craft a rule for them, assign it to them, and just let users self-service. So this is really a major thing, a major time saver for IT, just letting users self-service, and it also saves the end user a bunch of pain, So yeah, no, I think you get the picture here. So now it's downloading and installing. One other thing I would like to show you is the support approval flow. So here I have Steam set up. So apparently this is Bobby. He's quite a gamer. He wants to install Steam. So let's see what happens when he right-clicks Steam and press Run with elevated access. Here he needs to provide a business justification. And here you can write, I need to test some games. And he can send it. So that was the default elevation behavior that I talked to you mentioned before. So what will happen now is this elevation request will be sent into the EPM portal, where an IT admin with the necessary privileges will be able to approve it. You can see here Steam set up, and this is Bobby Olsen. He sent that request, and here the IT admin can approve it if he thinks that it's legit. So approved, go test some games. And I'm not going to go through the rule crafting in details, but if to crafting specific rules, so let's say you're tired of approving Steam setup for his department, you can actually create a rule with these details. You can press this button and just go ahead and create a predefined rule with a few clicks instead of crafting it manually, which can take like a few minutes extra. So this is a good extra feature to have if you want to assign an elevation rule for his department, to kind of say, okay, you don't have to send this request every time. We just approve it by default. Coming back to his PC now, Bobby's PC. Unfortunately, there is a bug right now, or I don't know, a shortcoming, where this approval. So the IT admin approved the elevation request. So there is a bug right now where it can sometimes take up to 4 hours for that to get back to the endpoint. We are talking very heavily to Microsoft about this because right now if a user really wants to do something right now and we're telling them, you have to wait up to 4 hours, okay, that's not really a good experience. So it will be improved in the near future, but as you can see here, nothing really happened. The user doesn't know what to do, but when the elevation gets approved and the endpoint here knows that it got the approval, the user will receive a notification in the lower right corner that it got approved. I was hoping, actually, for demo purposes, that the approval would arrive in within a 1 minute or two. But of course, I didn't bribe the demo gods today, so unfortunately we don't get to see that. But yeah, it's just to show you how the different ways you can configure EPM to work. The last thing I want to show you is so I have this device from IT. If that wants to work, let's see if I can get it on the screen. There we go. So this is an IT device. So I've configured a policy already. So IT can actually elevate all things by default without getting approval, because you would think that IT they would really be tired of um, asking for approval every time. So let's just see if this works now. And the button is gone. It's interesting. So it's gone. So apologies. So there is another bug right now. As you can hear, there's a pattern here. There's another bug right now. When you wipe and reuse a device, like reinstall it and reuse it, sometimes the extension doesn't install. I've wiped this earlier today to make sure it was clean and reinstalled it. So that means the shell extension didn't install. So I can actually go in here and reinstall it. That will also be resolved, I think, in the April patch for Windows. So let's see if this actually works. And you see the button is there. Yeah. And now I should be able to elevate this without getting through the support approval. So here you can see I'm just being asked for my PIN. So when you elevate anything with EPM, you can have the users confirm the elevation by using credentials. It could be the password or just the Windows Hello credentials. So I'm just gonna put in my Windows Hello credentials, and you can see I can now elevate things without being approved first, because that's the way I configured it as the IT admin. So there's different ways you can configure it to make life easier for your end users, which really matters, because time is basically money in this game. But you have to find the perfect middle ground between being very secure, but also letting your end users do the things they need to do to kind of help themselves, including IT. There are a few things about EPM currently that's it's lacking. So you saw about the button here, how it's not always appeared and all that stuff. I'm sure that will be resolved very soon. Unfortunately, if the users go to the start menu, the button is not there, and I'm not sure if it will actually ever be added. So what that means is the user will have to find a different way to kind of elevate things if they, for instance, go to the start menu, or they want to uninstall an app, which is the most asked for thing in my implementation in the customer I'm helping. They can uninstall apps. Granted, it's a very niche use case, because in large organizations, software is heavily managed anyway. It's just something I need to mention, and something we've been talking with Microsoft for ever since we started with this implementation, that we have a small group of users, mainly developers, that they can uninstall apps, or if they want to transfer files back and forth in File Explorer, there's no integration to do that. And that's mainly because EPM is a separate product. It doesn't integrate with the Run as Administrator experience. So you can see if I right-click Run as Administrator, that's a completely separate thing. So Run with Elevated Access is a completely separate agent that's running in the operating system. So that's why it's like that. So hopefully more integration will be added within the next year or so, but currently there are bigger fish to fry in regards to bugs and all that stuff with EPM. Rest assured, right now it's an awesome product for those one-time software installs or IT admins that just need to elevate like PowerShell to do something, test some things. It's really a good product for that. I'm just going to show this again, because the last thing I want to show with EPM is I mentioned developers. So they usually represent in most companies a small percentage of your workforce. But also, if they can't work or do their jobs properly, you have a problem. So what we have seen is when they elevate things, sometimes when they elevate things and they can't self-update apps, or sometimes when they launch their apps, it doesn't work at all. It can't read the configuration of that said application. We found that actually happens because EPM, when you elevate things, because Microsoft is such a security first company. So what happens is when you elevate anything in EPM, you get sent into this secure virtual account, as they call it. And just to demonstrate it now, I'm just gonna open a normal PowerShell and write "Who am I?" You can see normally that's what it should say on an Entra ID device, but you can see here on the screen here that I'm not in my normal user profile. For 9 out of 10 users, it's not gonna matter. But for the developer, it's gonna matter a lot, and they're gonna be super annoyed by this. We've been talking a lot with Microsoft about this, and currently we've been ping-ponging a bit back and forth, and currently there's no solution in sight. I know that we are planning to test the upcoming administrator protection feature, but I don't want to get too much ahead of myself. I can see I already spent half an hour just demoing APM. But just know that this here can annoy developers a lot. So that's basically EPM and right now the state of EPM. So just let me get back to my slides. So the good with EPM right now is it's excellent for those one-time software installs. It's really a good product. If that's all you need, well, all power to you. It's really a good product. Go get it. And the agent installation, you didn't see that, but as soon as you assign that policy to devices, it will automatically install in the background, facilitated by the Intune management extension. So it just automatically installs. You don't need to do anything. And with the addition where I showed you, where you can, whenever someone creates a support approval request, you can just create rule. It's actually super easy for an IT admin to craft a specific rule for an application saying, yeah, you don't need to approve that again for this group of users. That's a good. So the bad is it only supports Windows for now, and it's probably going to be like that for the next year and a half. They're really focused on making the Windows experience good before they move on to Mac. And as you said, support approval, it can be hit and miss. It can take up to 4 hours, which can be a bit frustrating if the end user is sitting there waiting for an elevation to be approved. And the Run with Elevated Access button is currently poorly integrated in the Windows operating system. Also, I didn't mention that, but there's no extra security wrapped around elevations. So those of you already using a PAM solution right now, you'll know with a CyberArk and Admin by Request and all these other products, they have some extra security about when you elevate things to scan it for malware and all that stuff, and before it approves the elevation. Here it just goes and approves it. Okay, you're good. There's no security. And currently the ugly, and the reason I put it on the ugly is because it's that's made the most noise at my customer, is the secure virtual account. I know I didn't demo it really well, but just know that developers with this secure virtual account, it can really cause them a lot of headache. And the only way for a developer to work around that right now is actually, we've asked them to add themselves to the local admin group using EPM. That's the only thing we can do right now. Yeah, and so what we've done with that customer, we've just set up like a scheduled task and like a remediation that removes them from the local admin group like every hour. Still knowing that if they ever encounter issues with this secure virtual account, they will need to run this command to add themselves to the local admin group. With that, before I continue, is there any questions?
No questions.
Okay, great. Okay, well, let's move on to remote help. So with remote help, so again, it's Microsoft kind of came into the game late with this one. Remote help products has been on the market for so many years to do remote support, but I'm so happy that Microsoft has finally entered this space as well. Because it's so important that for IT to provide the support for end users to have a good product to provide remote support. I see I'm slowly running out of time, and I have a lot more to demo. So I'll just quickly go through this. So basically, it allows help desk to remote into devices to help end users where they need to, and there's like different controls and levers to make it more safe. So I won't read from the slides here, but in the right hand side, you can see actually there are some things missing right now from this product. So I think I'll just go ahead and jump right into the demo and just show you how it works. So let's go out of presenter mode. And I'll show you now in my little demo environment. So this on the right hand side again, just to remind you, this is the IT admin. So what I can do here, there's two ways I can initiate a remote help session. I can go to Intune as an IT admin, and I can initiate remote help from in here. I can go to devices, and sorry for the resolution, it's a bit bad. I hope you bear with me. So you can see that's Bobby's device on the left side. That's the end user. So if I go to his device, I can press the ellipsis button, the three dots, and I can press new remote assistant session. I've already done some pre-config for remote help, like installing the agent, because here the agent doesn't install by itself. You have to install it beforehand. I can press a remote assistant session, and I can initiate a remote help session. And here, actually very quickly, the user should see a notification. Yeah, you see how quickly that went. I don't know why EPM can't do that with a support approval. I have no idea, but this usually I've used it a lot during the past year. It's super quick. Within 10 seconds from you pressing this button, the user will get a notification down here saying, actually, there's someone wants to help you. So in the right hand side, what the IT admin will do here, he will press open remote help and just sign in. So it says connecting, and so let's see. And here it will say the user is ready for your help, and I'll say take full control. And you can see the user on the left hand side, he should get an extra prompt here just to finally, are you sure you want to allow this person into your PC, just to make sure it's not an imposter, something like that. Mike, he can definitely help me. I need help, so I'm going to press allow. And you see in the IT side, now I'm in the user's device. And sorry, it looks a bit cramped. It's a very low resolution, but you kind of get the picture here. So now I'm in the user's device. One thing you didn't see, because I already tested it earlier, there are some single sign-on prompts and some end user agreements that you can't suppress. It's a bit annoying for the end user to have to sign in to remote help and agreeing to some license agreements before you can get help. There's currently no way to suppress that, and Microsoft has told us it's not going to come in the near future. There are like bigger fish to fry in regards to bugs and features that we need to add. One thing is, I'll show you now, because one very common support scenario is Mike, he wants to help the user, and he wants to he wants to do something on the end user's PC. So that usually requires some local admin access, to install a printer or uninstall some software. So normally we can go in and copy the password, but there's no copy paste support for text. So Mike can't really copy paste the password in this session. So what I usually done to help the users in the organization I'm helping is, well, I send the password via Teams. I just search for the user, I send the password, lapse password, so I can help the user. That's the only workaround we have right now. I actually did it wrong. because it's like a screen sharing exception here. So I send the password. It's just to show you that there's no copy paste support currently. It doesn't work, and it's the same for file transfer support. It's not there. And if you ask me why, the only thing I can tell you is it was initially in the marketing material that there would be a text and file transfer support. But it was removed due to there's a heavy focus for security in Microsoft right now. It doesn't work currently in its current state. It will be added at a later stage once they've done it correctly. So just want to show you that how it works, how you can initiate sessions. The other way an IT admin could initiate this session is just to open the remote help client. Some of you probably already use Quick Assist, and you can just share like a one-time code with them, and you could get in that way. It's just a bit more seamless in the Intune portal without sharing the code, and you get this notification. That's a bit easier for IT, so you don't have to exchange that code actually. So just to get back to the slides, the good is currently there is seamless integration with Intune. You saw how easy it was to get onto a user's device. The bad is you have to manually install the agent. It is available in Enterprise App Catalog. I'm going to show you in a second. It's available where you can easily add it, but you still have to manually add it. And there's no copy paste support, no file transfer support. And also, I already did it, but there's no single sign-on or ways to suppress the license agreement the first time the user needs to use a program, which is a few extra clicks. And the most requested thing right now, which is ugly, a lot of people are asking about it, there's no unattended access support. So if you have like PCs, sitting on a wall somewhere displaying some information, well, you're out of luck. You can't use remote help for now. Due to the previous mentioned heavy focus on security in Microsoft. They want to do it the correct way before they just hit the button on this. So before I continue to the next slide, is there any questions regarding remote help?
No question.
Okay, great. Moving on, so advanced app management. So again, I won't really read from the slides here. So basically, it's your patch my PC thing in Microsoft Intune, and it says here increased IT efficiency, but I think that would only come later when it actually supports auto updating apps. Because what it is right now is a glorified app catalog where you can manually go in and say, I want this app, please get it for me. There is no auto update support right now. Only actually you can use some Graph API to auto update apps if you create your own tools, but it kind of defeats the purpose. The reason you want to keep apps up to date is that is a really common attack vector in organizations today. A lot of security risks are constantly identified in apps as all the time, like Google Chrome, Adobe Reader, you name it. So you really want to keep those up to date. Currently in Advanced App Catalog, so let me just show you. It doesn't support auto updating, but let me show you the end user experience, or sorry, the IT experience for how they add new apps. So if I go into Intune All Apps and press Create, down here in the very bottom, you can select Enterprise App Catalog app, and here you can actually access that catalog by pressing Search. And I hear a lot of my customers, they say, there's only 500 apps because I counted them. That's not true. There's a lot more apps than 500. They keep adding more apps, and I heard they also heavy at work to adding support for ARM apps. So let's say I want to, let's just find some random app here. I want to add Beam Studio. I can press Next. And here, actually, I just said they were heavy at work adding ARM support, but I guess they're not done yet because there's only x64. Nevertheless, I digress. I can press Select here, and you can see there's already some work been done here regards to pre-provisioning some information. And the most important bit, the silent installation commands for installing and uninstalling has already been pre-filled. So those of you that tried to package apps before, that's a huge time saver sometimes, because you have to fiddle around with these silent uninstall and installation commands. They've already pre-filled. Excellent app catalog to just kind of get apps in there. And you can kind of just go ahead, hit next, 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 next. And now you have the app in your catalog. So that's super easy. And as I said, this is kind of like an app catalog ready, because what will happen when there's a new update for this app, which is super important for this product, for this kind of product, this update button will light up, and you'll have to manually go in and update the app. If you're already using Patch My PC today, some of you will probably have 50, 60, 70 apps in there. Having to do this one at a time on each app is very time consuming. And it's the number one question that we ask them every week or every bi-weekly when we have the meeting with the guys: when will this be added? And they hear our feedback, they hear our pain, but currently it's a bit down the roadmap. So hopefully it will be added this year. But currently, Enterprise App Catalog see it as a really very convenient app catalog where you can easily go in and add an app, instead of manually packaging it. So just going to here. So the good is right now is you have an excellent app catalog, no manual packaging required, very easy to use, and they've even mentioned that there's Mac OS support will eventually be added as well, which is awesome. The bad is there's a lack of pre and PostScript support. So if you have any shortcuts or customization licenses, something like that, you have to create a new package to kind of deploy that. For some reason, there's no logos on applications. I don't know why. It seems like a no-brainer. Whenever you open company portal, you want your users to have a nice application logo. It's not there. Will be added sometime in the future. And the ugly is there's auto updating apps is not supported. So that means somebody will have to work overtime in the weekends manually updating apps, which is boring. Nobody wants to do that. So before I continue to the next slide, is there any questions?
No, all good.
Okay, great. Let me continue to Cloud PKI. Basically Cloud PKI is lets you configure a public key infrastructure within a few minutes. Not going to take super long to explain this, but a lot of big organizations, they need certificates to log on to Wi-Fi, VPN, or internal web service, or for whatever reason, they need this PKI solution. I've configured a few myself during the past few years, and usually with configuring the PKI and SCEP and NDES and all that stuff, it can take 2 to 3 days in total. Especially if I have to wait for access to do stuff, it can take a week or two, maybe 3 weeks, give or take. Here it actually only takes a few minutes, and there's no on-prem infrastructure required. And I can tell you already, it's going to be a lot more secure than your average cloud PKI out there. So I'm just going to quickly show you what that looks like from the Intune portal. You can go to tenant administration and you can press Cloud PKI. And here you can hit create. And you can just call it a root CA, because we're going to create the root CA first, the root of the PKI basically. So we select root CA here, validity period 5 years. And we're just going to select a client authentication, which is the most common use case for Wi-Fi VPN. So the users doesn't have to enter a password. And we're just going to test PKI. And key algorithm, we're just going to select RSA to 2048 and SHA 256. And here we can hit next, next, and create. And actually what you've done now is you've already created that root CA. And as you can see here, that took less than 10 seconds to create the root CA. I can tell you already, creating this here, along with the intermediate CAs, which you usually need 2 of, that can easily take a couple of weeks if you don't have your the necessary access and all that stuff. I'm just clicking through it now, so I have time for my remaining slides. I just want to show you how easy it is to actually configure it here, and also get that super nice security for all your certificates, which you really need. Because if somebody gets a hold of this, you're really not in luck, because they can get into your Wi-Fi, VPN, or whatever you have bound to your certificates. And as you can see here, it's already available. So the last thing that you actually just need to do is provision certificate profiles in Intune, which is very easy. And now you have certificates, a super nice and secure PKI infrastructure in the cloud without any on-prem infrastructure, hosted in Microsoft data centers on something called hardware security modules, which is very secure. With that, is there any questions? I'm just gonna jump through this now.
No question.
Okay, awesome. So I'm slowly running out of time, so I'm just gonna jump ahead to advanced endpoint analytics, which I told you already that it was the most non-useful products of them all. So basically, what advanced endpoint analytics was supposed to be when we initially got the word, we're gonna do this endpoint analytics, and I was like, yay, because that means like nice reports to show you insight into how your endpoints are configured, like error trends and all that stuff, and then you can kind of have clear actions of what you need to do based on that information. But basically, this was the premise: gain deeper insights into the end user experience. You can have some anomaly detection and enhanced device timeline. There's also some custom device scopes utilizing scope tags. A lot of Intune admins, or admins in general, they don't know what scope tags is or what they do. And usually if they try to deploy them, they break something, because some custom roles, they can suddenly see any devices in Intune and they're like surprised. I'm not sure why they chose this route, but I just wanted to mention it. And since then, ever since they went GA, I think the only thing they actually did was add battery health. I'm not sure it was there at GA to begin with, but it's a good addition. You can see the battery health of your estate, of your devices, kind of like you can do on your iPhone. You can see this and that. I'll not demo endpoint analytics in my own tenant because it's kind of boring. There's only 2 devices. So what I'll do here, just snap some screenshots from my customer's environment and just remove the customer specific data so you can see who the customer is. So here you can see I'm in an Intune device. When I press the device, you have this user experience. You can kind of see the last events that happened on the device, and you can see what happened here. This device is not doing good because there are some blue screens on the device, and that's really bad. You can also see that this device has been flagged in anomalies. It says over 2% of devices have had stop errors in the last 48-hour window. So 2% of all your devices in your estate. So different kinds of information, and it's okay information. It's good for troubleshooting purposes. And there's also the general overview you'll get in anomalies for endpoint analytics. You can kind of get an overview of what are the trends, anomalies in your organization. The problem here is you sit there and look at this information. Like, what am I supposed to do with this information? Like, search host experience crashes or hangs over 5% of your devices in a 48-hour window. Great. And then you can press it and you can see what devices are affected. And I didn't put that in the screenshots, but it will say, like, it will correlate some information like top 3 common indicators on your devices. You have this and that, but it's not really good information. So what I'm trying to say is, this information, what am I supposed to do with it? It's good if you're troubleshooting a very specific thing. You can sometimes, okay, is there a general trend? Is something spreading in my environment? Like stop errors. I've used this before, actually. There were some devices at my customer that started to experience blue screens. and you can see the affected devices here is 657. And when I troubleshooted this issue last summer, there was like 2,500 devices in affected devices. And using this tool, actually, I could say, oh, okay, there's probably something going on, because that's really a lot of devices, 2,500 devices. That was actually like 15% of the customers' devices was affected around that. So I could see, okay, something is going wrong on here. Moving on to the good, the bad, and the ugly. So the good, it's good overview of the general health of your Windows devices. It's okay. It's good, and it can somewhat assist you in triaging complex problems. It's somewhat. The bad is it only supports Windows. So, the customer I'm helping, they actually think in a year or two maybe they'll probably be 50-50 Mac. They don't know, but it only supports Windows, so you're out of luck. And the ugly is, so the data presented, it holds no immediate value. You need to go and do something yourself to solve all those problems. And also, what you need to do is just unclear. The search host, it's presented to you, the search host is crashing. Okay, well, what am I supposed to do with that? And the last thing is there's no integration with Copilot or other Intune components. So it's something we requested from the product team. Wouldn't it be great if Copilot could go in and look at all these things? And when you press the recommendation, it will kind of recommend this, and that based on industry best practices or Microsoft documentation that updates every day. So Copilot could kind of aggregate all that information and just give it to you. But it's not there right now. So that's kind of Intune Suite in a nutshell. Is there any questions?
Okay, so there's no question on the chat. I know we have run out of time, but I just have a question to ask you.
Yeah.
For an organization that is starting to look into managing their endpoints, based on your experience, would you advise they go with the Intune Suite, or they just leverage on the particular feature that they want as an add-on license?
So currently, some products in the suite, you can buy them individually, but the problem is here, it's the pricing. They didn't make it easy to purchase individual products if you want it for a fair price. So actually, what Microsoft will usually do is, if you buy the full package, and if you have more than 1,000 seats, you can actually usually call Microsoft, your account manager, and you can really negotiate. But if you call them and tell them, I only want one product, usually in my experience, you can't negotiate that price, because the list price is super high. It's really, really up there. So I wouldn't recommend that. I hope that answered the question.
Yeah, thank you.
So the last thing I just want to mention is the POC and funding opportunities. Microsoft, they're really heavily invested on making this product good. I know I said a lot of bad things about the product, but it doesn't mean I don't think the product is useful and holds value. I think it's super great that we now have all of these tools integrated in Intune, and we can easily access them. And I think in 1 to 2 years, we are in a completely different space. Don't hesitate to reach out to your Microsoft account manager if you're interested, because chances are there are some trusted partners like myself and Apento. We can come out and help you do a POC, do a heat map to see what kind of features you need based on what is not in there right now. And then actually, last I spoke with Microsoft, they're willing to fund actually that work for someone to come out and do that POC with you. So don't hesitate to call your Microsoft rep if you're interested. And as I mentioned before, if you just want to test it yourself, you can always go in and just do the 90-day trial to fiddle around with it yourself if you want. So that was the last words of today, I think. Great. And that was it. Any questions? Last words?
No question in the chat.
Okay.
Thank you
Awesome.
so much, Mads. We
That's
really appreciate
great.
your time.
Great. Thank you for listening.
Yeah,
And thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
great
I
demo.
hope it was useful. Yeah.
Yeah, great demo. So we kind of streamed out through 2 LinkedIn accounts and 1 YouTube.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really good. I hope I wasn't too harsh on them. I want to provide a fair overview of things. Yeah.
I think that's good enough. Anyone can reach out to you for further questions. And if you want to come on to share your knowledge with us, please feel free to reach out to us or connect with us on Sessionize and submit a session.
Yes, I'll definitely do that. Awesome.
All right. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. And thank you again for having me, and have a good night.
Okay.
Great.
Bye, Mads.
Bye.